you go to the right thing. There are 5 million parakeets in the United States, over 5 million parakeets in the United States, and they're the third most popular pet after dogs and cats. We're going to talk about that and other fun parakeet facts while I draw this little check this morning. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning. It is Sunday morning. That means that it is Apple Fritter Day. So happy Apple Fritter Day. What?
There's a lot of detail on that.
There is. We're going to do essence of parakeet today. I'm going to go and see if the Apple Fritter place is open today. A lot of things are closed. We are experiencing freezing weather today. We don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. We don't have sand trucks. We don't have sufficient heat. Most of our efforts are to disperse heat here. They don't even really insulate the houses here. If you want insulation in your house, you have to go back and figure out how to do that a different way, because when they build them, they insulate them from the heat. They don't insulate them from the cold. And so if you want cold insulation, you have to go back and figure out how to do that some other way, because it doesn't really come with your house. Kids don't own coats. We joke, everybody in the country says, "Oh no, it's going to be 40 degrees in Houston. They've already canceled schools." And everybody in the country laughs about that until you realize that the kids have to sit at the bus station and nobody owns a coat. But anyway, last night, I would start to say I'm going to go see if they're open, and if they're open, I'm going to reward them by purchasing an apple fritter after the show. I don't know if they'll be open, but last night there was no heat in the studio, and I went upstairs and made all my notes and didn't set anything up on the computer. So I appreciate everybody's patience this morning. But here we are, drawing a parakeet. On Sunday mornings, I like to do a little thing where we pull a random object out of the random object randomographer, a toy out of the toy box, if you will, and I like to draw it, and I like to talk about it. Good morning, Pamela. I like to draw it, and I like to talk about it. And this morning's toy is a parakeet.
Rick says they have 2 inches of snow and 9 degrees.
2 inches of snow and it's 9 degrees. I bet you guys are bundled up nice and toasty in the house. I'll tell you what, I have a pair of sweatpants on under my jeans, and I have a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt and a sweatshirt on, and I have and when the camera turns on me, you can see I'm wearing a fuzzy blanket. Here, let me just show you. I have a fuzzy blanket and I have a hat, and I have my wife makes these things called corn bags. Yeah, my wife makes these things called corn bags, where it's a sewn pouch with deer corn in it, and you can put that in the microwave, and the moisture in the corn holds heat. And what happened to that wing? Why can't I see what's happened with that wing? The moisture in the corn holds heat and keeps the corn bag warm. So you have a nice toasty experience there. Yeah, I could go a long ways with that pencil, but I think it's going to distract me. I think I need to move the pen. Hi, Claudia. I'm hot, Rick. I'm hot everywhere. I'm covered up, but everywhere that's exposed is cold. Mm-mm. We were at Petco yesterday. We made the rounds yesterday to go pick up some groceries so my daughter could bake bread. So there is fresh bread, Mother. Don't let her tell you there's not fresh bread.
Regular free.
Regular bread. She baked bread. I know. She baked. Oh yeah, yeah. She let it rise, and let it set, let it rest, and the whole works.
Good for her.
So while we were out, we stopped in at Petco because my son, actually, Bob the crawfish died,
Oh man.
and I was going to check and see if there was another crawfish at the pet store. There was not, and that's probably a good thing because I don't need another pet store crawfish when there are so many restaurant crawfishes that I could just rescue for free. But for those not in the know, I have an aquarium set up for pet crawfish. And we stopped at Petco, and my son has been interested in keeping birds for a couple of years now. He's talked about it. And yesterday he met a young lady at the store who had just purchased a parrot. I think it was a parrot. I'm not real sure. It was a little green bird, looked like a parrot. It's what I would have called a parrot. It wasn't a parakeet. It was too big for that. But anyway, she had purchased one, and she worked at the store, and her bird was flying free around the shop, and made it a good moment for discussion for him to talk about the the things you need to do to keep a parrot. And he's excited. He wants a bird so bad he can taste it. And my only problem is these things live 80 years. You're talking about a 16-year-old making a commitment to keep an 80-year-old bird. And I'm trying to point out to him, I said, you don't understand. This is worse than marriage. This is not 30, 40, 50, 60 years. This is 80 years. You're going to pass this thing off to your grandkids. You have to make sure, excuse me just a second. You have to make sure that it is looked after in your will, because you are already 16. 80 years from now, you'll be 96.
What's he gonna do when he goes to field work?
Yeah, what's he going to do when he goes to basic training?
Exactly.
Who's going to look after this bird? Who's going to look after this bird when he's deployed? He's talking about joining the Marines. He wants to join the Marines as a medic. Well, he wants to join the Navy as a green medic, which means he'll be deployed with Marines as a medic, but he'll be in the Navy. That's what he wants. That's what he's considering right now. And when he's deployed, somebody's got to look after his bird, because he's not going to be able to take his bird on ship with him. And I said, these are all things you have to consider. And I'm not trying to poo-poo your idea, but they live 80, can live 80 years. So that's all stuff it's all stuff you have to consider when you're going to commit to a parakeet or a parrot. You have to remember their lifespan is forever.
He should work at a pet store.
I should work at a pet store, and I had this conversation with the lady at the pet store yesterday. The minute they come in with hermit crabs, I'm going to be all, hey, hermit crabs are not ethically sourced. Every hermit crab you bring into this store had to be wild caught. when they come in with the tropical fish, I'm going to be the employee saying, "Hey, these are not ethically sourced. These are wild caught, and the way they catch them is not humane and is terrible for the coral."
Yeah, that's not the place for him.
Yeah. Oh, you said he should work at a pet store. I thought you said I should work at a pet store.
Well, it's the same thing.
Kind of. It almost is. Yeah. You said he should work at a pet store. And then I talked to the young lady last night about. She said, "I said she runs kind of a rescue for reptiles and birds that people abandon." And she's talk. I told her she should open an conservation ethically minded pet store. And she said she couldn't afford it. She'd love to, but she couldn't afford it. And I said, well, contact the ASPCA and see if you can get a grant. What? Yeah, contact the ASPCA, see if you can get a grant. I'm sure they have grants for that kind of stuff. Contact the ASPCA for a grant. File for a 501c3. When you file for a 501c3, you make it where all these people that want to help you can donate money and have it be tax deductible. Get you a 501c3. Start working on that now. You're young. Start working on that now. And she said, I didn't even think about that. And I said, have ChatGTP write your grant proposal for you. You have an expert grant writer right there at the tip of your fingertips. I didn't think about all that stuff. Thank you so much. And she's all excited about how she's gonna start working to open a pet store where she knows the animals are ethically treated. So it started with, she's talking about how the birds don't get socialized when she goes on vacation. If she has the weekend off or anything like that, the whole weekend the birds don't get socialized, and that's horrible for the birds, especially when you want to go to make the birds look like they're ready to be in your home, in somebody's home. They have to appear to be pet ready, which means they have to be handled. And if nobody's handling them, then the birds aren't being socialized. And if the birds aren't socialized, then nobody will want to buy them. And so it's a concern for her. It'd be neat to see if she does it. But their parakeets are bred ethically. Most of their birds are bred ethically because Australian parakeets come from Australia, and Australia made it illegal to export parakeets in like 1894. They realized that tens of thousands of their birds were going overseas, and so they made it illegal to export them. Which, good on you, mate. That's good effort right there. But they made that decision in 1874. In 1728. What happened? No, that's not right. It wasn't 1728. In 1805, that's what I started to say the first time. In 1805, a fellow sent a specimen to London of a parakeet. Nobody had ever really seen a parakeet in London before that, and so they sent it in, and it got documented, it got studied, and it got documented, and it got added to the big book of species, and then, but they didn't have a live one in Europe until 40 years later, until 1840s. And then they were so rare at that time that they gave a set of them to the Queen, and they were considered rare jewels because they were so rare. Nobody had ever seen anything like that. But But by 1860, they were bringing in 2,000 birds a day, and so in London, just into London, they were bringing in 2,000 birds a day just to London, and so Australia made it illegal by 1874. Australia made it illegal to export parakeets. Let me dry this real quick. My corn bag is falling. I got my corn bag between my shoulder blades, and when I leaned forward to get my hair dryer, my corn bag started falling, and I don't want to be cold. So, all right, let me dry this real quick. I should get a Darth Vader hat, Rick. That sounds like it'd be really cool. I don't actually own a Darth Vader hat at the moment, but I should get one. Rick says I should wear a Darth Vader hat to stay warm. And that would have been handy, especially for yesterday when I was doing the Imperial Star Destroyer. I missed some spaces, and I realized after the fact that I missed them. So let me one more again, boys. One more again. We have rods and cones in our eyes to help us see light and color, and I don't remember which one it is that lets you see. I don't remember which one it is that lets you see color versus which one that lets you see light. But one of them, the one that lets you see color, we have 3 of them. And it lets us see most of the spectrum, but we can't see ultraviolet. We can't see the very dark or the extreme ends of the spectrum. We can only see the middle range of the spectrum. Parakeets, where we have 3 and they have 4, or we have 4 and they have 5, because they can see in the, what is it, Mom? Yeah, and whether it's 3 or 4 that we have, they have 1 more than us. So they see the ultraviolet, just like the swallowtails that we had the other day, the swallowtail butterfly that we had the other day. They can see the markings on the swallowtail that we can't see. They can see the patterns on the flowers that we can't see. They can see our stripes. Humans are striped like tigers. Not quite as many stripes as tigers have, but humans are striped. And if you want to have a good time, go get you a UV light, go get you a black light, and go into the bathroom, take your shirt off with your black light, and have a good hard look at your stripes if you never have before. And look and see and see your pattern. Your pattern of stripes is as different as your fingerprints, and everybody's got them. Everybody's got some form of them somewhere on their body. Why? We can't see that. we can't see in that range. Why would we have stripes? What stage of our ancestry could see in the ultraviolet that our ancestors developed ultraviolet stripes?
The parakeet can see our stripes.
The parakeet can see our stripes. The swallowtail butterfly can see our stripes.
That's crazy.
I wonder if the parakeet can recognize our stripes the way we recognize each other's faces. But in all seriousness, go get you a blacklight from Walmart. And go into a dark room with a mirror, and you can look at your stripes. The parakeets can see that. They see the UV light range. They can mimic words. There's argument to this day as to whether they understand what they're mimicking, because there are people who will argue to the bitter end that bird knows what he said when he told my wife this, that, or the other thing. There are people who will argue that to the end of their days, because when there was one named Puck that knew 17. This is where I got the 1728 a while ago. There was one named Puck that knew 1,728 different words and could use them in context. He could put them together in phrases. He could put them together in phrases in context. And the Guinness Book of World Records sent 20 some odd people to watch the bird for 31 hours while they recorded everything the bird said for 31 hours to prove the number of words that he knew and what he was saying. But Puck has the world record. Hi, Jessica. Hola. Bienvenido. Afortunadamente no habla en español en live stream, pero bienvenidos. Okay. Let's see, what else was I going to say? You know, Puck only lived to be 5 years old, though. That was in 1995. Puck only lived to be 5 years old. And again, these things lived to be 80, so Puck wasn't having the best life. Let me dry this real quick. I'm going to ink it. Rick says I'm a 72-year-old man with sagging skin. I'm not going to take my shirt off. Thank you very much. I will keep my shirt on. I can appreciate that. I personally am somewhat of a nudist, though. I will take my shirt off all the time. to the lament of my wife. I was like, really? I've got stripes? And I ran to the bathroom. We have a black light. I ran to the bathroom. We have stripes? How cool is that? I want to see my stripes. Mine goes across here. It's pretty cool. I want my parents to do it. I've never mentioned this before, but I want my parents to do it. I would like to know if my stripe is at all similar to theirs. If I inherited a stripe. If I inherited my stripes from my stripe pattern from one of them, or if they are truly like fingerprints, where your stripes are truly your own, and your parentage makes no difference to the quality of your stripes, to the quality is not the right word, to the positioning of your stripes. That would be interesting to find out. Not interesting enough for me to go take a black light to my parents, but interesting enough to think about, to speculate. More of a theoretical curiosity. Morning, Claudia. I didn't see you sneak in. You've probably been here the whole time.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I missed you. I don't think I've even addressed you this morning. I saw Rick and my mom and dad while I was trying to set everything up, and I saw Pamela, and I haven't looked back up at the screen, so I missed you, and I'm sorry. Rick says he thinks y'all wouldn't be too eager to look at yourselves in the mirror. I don't know. My dad's somewhat of a nudist also, so there's a good possibility there. He may already be digging for a black light.
Fortunately, that's one thing we don't have.
I can help you with that. I have several. I can help you there. But that seems to be exactly the kind of thing my dad would be all over. What? I have stripes? Let me see. Of course, he's also a curious person like I am. He may have already mapped yours.
No parrot. Oh.
Yes. Yes. They are from the Australian outback, and it's an interesting thing. Normally, they flock in numbers of 6 to 100 birds, but in the rain seasons, they will flock in the millions, and they will breed. They're opportunistic breeders, which is what makes them so good for domestication and pets. They were so easy to breed outside of their natural habitat. And when it rains, when the rainy season comes, they will band together, and their numbers will exceed several million, and then dwindle down into the hundred thousands between rainy seasons. But yeah, they're fabulous mimics. They learn words. They learn to speak. The natives, the indigenous peoples of Australia, would follow them in the wilderness because they would always lead you straight to water. What is today? Today is the 25th of January. So if you were lost in the wilderness and you found a flock of parakeets, you could follow them and they would lead you straight to water. They were considered good spirits. Did I talk about everything I wanted to talk about? I think so. They can turn their head 180 degrees like an owl. They sleep on one foot with their head tucked under the wings. All very interesting stuff. But I got lost on the human stripe thing. Anyway, there is my parakeet compared to the photograph. Let's see it. Let's see it from my perspective. Your youngest turned 21 yesterday, Claudia? Wow, my youngest turned 16 in Tuesday, in 2 days.
Did you know that 16 years ago we had this kind of weather?
Yes. It's a funny story. We were in Norman, Oklahoma, where my wife gave birth to my son, and an ice storm was coming. There it is from my perspective. There was an ice storm coming, and we stayed the night, and we packed up to go home. And as we were trying to leave, the nurse came in to stop us, and she said, "Well, we haven't done all the tests that we're supposed to do." And I said, "There's a blizzard coming, and we can't stay. We have to get home." She said, "Well, we haven't done all our tests." And I said, "Are you going to pay for the hospital room to put us up overnight if we stay the night?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm not authorized to do that." I said, "Are you going to provide us free food for overnight if we stay for the night?" And she said, "No, I'm not authorized to do that." And I said, "Then you're not big enough to stop us from going home." And I took my wife and kid, and we drove home. And the four of us, me, my wife, boy 2 and girl 2, and he was an itty bitty thing. We went home and immediately lost electricity when we got home, and we sat in the front room with gas heat. And the four of us had 4 days together by ourselves. No other outside engagement, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And you know what? The state is shut down until Monday, and we're doing it again now. So there's that. What am I going to do tomorrow? Let's see. I know I've kept you in suspense longer than normal telling stories, but let's see what the suspense. Rick says their youngest is 46. Is that the redhead, or is the redhead the grandchild? The redhead's the grandchild. Tomorrow, what is this? Oh, is this? I don't know if this is Safari though. I don't think this is Safari. I think this is Houston Zoo. But tomorrow we have a panda. We can talk about how they're not really bears. We can talk about how they tuck and roll to get down hills. We can talk about all kinds of cool things. We can talk about their really cool markings and why they're striped like that. But we can talk about all kinds of fun things about pandas tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So be sure and set that notification bell so you don't miss it. My mom's got to stop and think how old her youngest is because she's got so many.
But it's going to change in 2 days.
Yeah, how old your youngest is going to change in 2 days. Rick says the Ginger's his grandchild, and she's 25. So let's see, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every day. My parents. My dad has a son, my mom has a son, and then they have a son between them. So, and all of them are sitting on camera right now. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every day when I get to art with my besties. I dart down the stairs every morning to do this with you guys because I love it so much. Thank you so much, Claudia, Pamela, Rick, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining us. Gracias, gracias para atender, llegar. I do look forward to this every day. Be sure and tune in tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because that's how we know that the lag has caught up to the stream. We know that you get a chance to click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal, or this way if you're on the vertical. It gives you a chance to ask any questions if you have any questions.